What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the BlockHash podcast. Today, sitting down with Jesse Beller, the CEO and co-founder of Terrace, a leading venture-backed digital assets trading platform. Terrace provides access to the world's leading centralized, decentralized crypto trading and liquidity venues through a single integrated platform. So we're going to learn more about that today. Jesse, here on the show. Thank you for taking the time, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to this.
Likewise. To kick things off, tell us a bit about yourself. I'm sure people will be very curious to know a bit more about your backstory and how you got into this, wonderful world of Web3.
I'll try and combine the two. I come from a kind of pretty hardcore finance family. Started doing principal investing, so public equity stocks,
Mhm.
credit when I was, I think, 13, which I think was a great learning experience and also terrible for making friends. But happens. I grew up in San Francisco, and so I actually had the opportunity to be at some of the Y Combinator demo days. And so I actually think I saw Coinbase and Airbnb and DoorDash. Of course, I didn't invest in any of them, but wasn't crypto really wasn't particularly on the radar at that time. Like obviously, you had Bitcoin around. This is like 2011 through 15. I think Bitcoin was like 18. It had this first peak, but there wasn't really much going on. Went and did investing kind of professionally, decided to do an operation. That's a whole longer story. But wanted to learn how to fix and run distressed companies. But the whole time was kind of doing investing on the side, but on a kind of semi-professional, if not professional level. And right around, I guess summer 2020, once you start having smart contracts, you start having DeFi, was the kind of the first opportunity I saw where there was more than just like buy and hold. Because even the ICO craze at some level was semi-liquid venture comparable to like late 90s tech. And so when you had smart contracts, it was the first time I thought and looked at this space and went, okay, this is really where you could have future infrastructure, because stocks, public equities, we don't really need to spend any more money there. I think we spent as a collective world like $300 billion making stocks trade really quickly. But like anything cross-border payments, anything credit related, proof of ownership, that kind of thing, clearing and settlement is just still stuck in the kind of 90s, early 2000s tech wise. And this, when you saw, DeFi is, I think, a permutation of it, but like the ability to actually have programmable money in some way, shape, or form, that really sparked my interest. And that led through a series of events to founding Terrace. And so that's kind of my journey at a high level.
Got it. In those series of events, was there a single moment of inspiration behind Terrace? Like, was there an idea there that kind of sparked that into fruition?
Good question. So I was doing what I would call R&D, which is really just known as losing money, by messing around with a bunch of different, I mean, I was on like Mango and Mango just was starting. Some of these early ones, yield farming, and honestly, it was always a terrible. Like the whole thing was a terrible experience and kind of bewildering to me as someone who was openly admit kind of pretty tradfi. I think at some point, like the really aha moment was of why to start Terrace was I was talking about it with a fund manager in traditional world who had some story they told, basically where someone accidentally walked out with a ledger thinking it was a USB key, and it had like 15 million bucks on it, and they just thought someone just stole $50 million and walked away. And I was like, this cannot possibly be the long-term solution to this industry. And if you think there needs, this will be around and there's going to be billions of dollars, trillions of dollars flowing through it, like we need the same quality of tooling, the same quality experience we have in traditional markets. And so it was kind of this, hey, it's not just me who's having a bad time or having a more challenging time. There's a lot of folks out there. This seems like a good thing to go start a business around.
Yeah, so what makes Terrace unique? Is it the trading tools that you can offer to users? Is it the way that you can view it and access it? I guess best way is maybe looking at a comparison to something like TradingView, for example, which is pretty industry standard, but has its limitations. How does it kind of compare to something that we already know and I think familiar with, and then why is it better?
Let me split the world into like things you would use on the DeFi side and then centralized exchanges, which I
Sure.
think should be in their own category. Um, on the DeFi side, almost everything today is like what I would call a point solution. So like TradingView is amazing for charting, things like that. 1 inch, matcha, whatever you want to call them, they're great for same chain spot trading with a wallet. DBank, Zerion, like they're okay to good portfolio management tools. You want to go multi-chain, Squid, I guess, Jumper. Like there's a few bridge aggregators out there, right? But they're all point solutions, right? They do one thing and they might do it pretty well, but they're not comprehensive, and they're not tied together. And so you end up having to literally like operate on multiple tabs and having multiple systems, and frankly, this is separate, like having to deal with multiple wallets. And so the whole point with Terrace is have the same quality of experience that folks are used to, frankly, on an institutional level, in traditional markets, but have it exist for crypto with like zero trade-offs. And so what does that mean? That means that you sign up to a Terrace account, you get something that we think is as good, if not better than 1inch. You get all the trading tools you experience from a centralized exchange if we're keeping that. So all the order types, et cetera, full order books. You get a cross-chain smart order router that we think rivals anything I mentioned, called Pathfinder. We have a portfolio management and position management solution that has all of your wallets if you want to import them across all the chains we support. We don't think there's anything comparable there, and it's all tied together. And then you have all your tax stuff, which some people care about, some people don't. But you have it all in one place. And if you think about like the evolution of almost any industry, it's first you solve the individual pain point, and then at some point you have the comprehensive one so that you don't have to go everywhere. And so like if I was to say one selling point for Terrace, besides the quality of everything we do, is just it's fewer tabs. That alone is like the difference.
You have no idea how badly I need fewer tabs.
I say this as I'm looking at my, we have this on Chrome and I have like 140 tabs over. And I'm like, I really need to start using my own application a bit more.
I have multiple different profiles and emails. So I have multiple different Chrome browsers open with numerous tabs for everything. It is an issue, especially if you're, a trader or investor and you need these things. Sometimes you have additional things open at the same time. It's hard to view everything. So
hard to view, and then you just lose track. I mean, like, I think it's amazing what people have been willing to trade using like wallet tech at some level. And we at some level abstract that away. Like it might be best to think of us on the DeFi side as it is a true centralized exchange experience. Like you never have to have gas at any point, at any time. When you set up an account, you get a wallet, it all flows together. You just press trade. And I think to me, that's just, I was just on, I will leave them unnamed, but like some site, like I have to press approve on my wallet every single sub transaction. And it was 8 clicks. I'm like, that just can't possibly be a better experience or what what everyone deserves. I did leave off on the centralized exchange side because we do both. One, it's single point of contact. So like you have one account, then you get access to, the biggest exchanges in the world and their liquidity. We provide the capital there. So you don't have to worry about moving money around. So you have instant execution. We have our own routing algorithms, but the whole thing is non-custodial. So you can always import, export your wallets as you desire. So if you think about it, like right now, and this is a little bit like moving 50 years back in history, you go on Coinbase or Binance or OKX or Bybit, and I'm not saying that they're untrustworthy, but they are your broker and your exchange, and they hold your funds, and they tell you how many funds you have. It's a bit scary. Whereas with us, no, you hold the funds. When you press trade, there's a moment where it has to get settled, but otherwise, it's kind of what I like when I think of it. Like this is what crypto is for, right? It's for self-custody as opposed to depending on lightly regulated groups all over the world.
Exactly. It doesn't make me safe when Binance's policy is your funds are SAFU. Like that doesn't tell me enough.
Yes, and I'd say as a company that has lived through FTX and having funds on FTX, I don't know if I'm ever really excited about having someone else tell me exactly how much money I have there and when I can have it back.
Exactly. What's the point of crypto and decentralization if we just put it in the hands of someone else all over again? So
it's preaching to the choir.
What's available in terms of tradable assets or trading pairs? Is it limited to things just at spot? Is it limited to just certain picks, or could it be a futures contract? Could it be options? What are some of the things that are available that people could take advantage of?
Great question. So right now it's spot only, and it's everything. EVM, Solana, have your pick. I don't think it's the entire universe of tokens that have been created because we don't have some of these smaller chains, but let's call it 99, 98%. Perps and CFDs, or contracts for difference, which are the same thing, are coming later this year, early next year. We'll see about, options probably at some point. Options are a weird market. There's not really as much trading of it in crypto, which is a bit surprising given what's happened to traditional markets, but is what it is. And kind of what we are building towards is kind of a full comprehensive. So you'd have spot, you have perps, you'd have options. Yes, you'd have dated futures, and the yield side, whatever we want to call that, both the kind of peer-to-peer lending and the providing liquidity to liquidity pools and such. But ultimately, the goal is if you have it all in one place and we see your entire portfolio across wallets, chains, etc., we can give you true cross margin, right? The anything can be levered against anything else, and that's kind of the experience that folks are used to from traditional markets, and to a certain extent are used to on some of the centralized exchanges, but applying that to all of DeFi and CeFi in a single place.
What about your trading tools? Like, can you follow strategies? Can you implement, legacy ones like Ishimoku clouds and Bollinger Bands and get really crazy with it? Or is it pretty simplified, or what's kind of there to play with?
Good question. I mean, so many of those things you're talking about are in development. I'd say at this point, like it's your classic full order type suite. So no matter where you're trading, what venue, multiple venues, CeFi, DeFi, you're getting limits, you're getting TWAPs, you're getting icebergs, you're getting market orders. How you decide to utilize those, that's on you. We are not in the kind of strategy implementation game at this point. I think it's something we're debating, and frankly, a larger conversation with legal, because I should clarify, nothing is financial advice. But like that's that. I'd say it's in a future case, but we kind of view it as like we're giving you maybe the primitives is probably too small, but everything you would need to implement whatever you want, you can then decide to do that, but we don't pre-strategize for you.
In the future, maybe allow other successful traders or investors or people that even have key insights. I mean, one thing I like about TradingView is that if you like a certain trader, you can follow their thoughts at least, even if it's not their direct trades. And it's kind of got like a social aspect. It just hasn't really taken off yet, but it's kind of nice to have.
The social, the Pandora's box that is social. The troll box is, I think, actually the
Reddit for trading.
Platonic ideal of that. Look, yes, to a certain extent, there's this dance that exists. We're a platform for primarily institutions, now expanding into kind of anyone who wants access. I can be honest, like I don't think a single institution wants anyone to know what the hell they're doing at any time. And so it's this balance of, can I copy trade? Yes, totally. If someone is willing to let you copy trade them. If they're not, we'll help them obfuscate what they're doing. Like a big part of this is making sure that your trades are protected from front running, that no one knows what you're doing. So it's a little bit of a dance between that. But to the extent that folks want to follow and are willing to let others follow them, great, fantastic. But we want to make sure it's kind of safe for both sides. I'd also know on the TradingView side, like I think TradingView is amazing. People should have TradingView and use TradingView. And I think Terrace and TradingView are quite complementary.
What about Fiat on and off ramps? Is that something that's also built into Terrace or coming?
Coming very shortly. It's been interesting watching the on-ramp world change and what people charge. I mean, it's at some level kind of crazy that you're still charging people 10, 20, 30, 50 basis points to send money in to then be also charged money. And so we've been going through this kind of pretty large RFP process, trying to figure out kind of the best folks there. For US customers, EU, it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of coverage, but we really want to make sure Terrace is acceptable on and off ramps for fiat, kind of in most major, not just major markets, but like most markets. And so we're aiming for kind of pretty robust coverage of Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, South Asia, probably in early October.
Next question might be self-evident, but how safe and secure is Terrace? And that question stems from, I think, so many people feeling burned in the last few years and the chaos within the Web3 space and the bad actors that have been out there. What do you guys do to help people feel a sense of reassurance, using Terrace?
I'd split that into two categories. There's what is our actual security protocols. We have senior folks who used to be at AWS and other places who kind of run security for us. We've passed the multiple penetration tests, which were published, and Sherlock Sherlock and others have done audits of our smart contracts. So like there's that piece, which is kind of how do you run your code base. Mm-hmm. Then there's a separate piece, which is actually how are you structured to protect people? And our primary focus there has been on, hey, it's got to be fully non-custodial. When you sign up to an account, yes, we create wallets for you, but you can export them immediately. and we never have control over them. If you import, it's going into AWS secrets, which is what is used by basically every large organization in the world to store private keys of any kind, not necessarily crypto related private keys, but just anything secrets related. But the key is like, it's your keys, it's your coins, and we want to maintain that. And that frankly stems from our own experience with FTX. And so when we are at some level security first, like it's always going to be your control at any point without our say. We have no control here. You export your private keys, you plug them in wherever you want, your MetaMask, your Avi, whatever, send the money out, do whatever you want with it. It's yours.
What about other aspects like staking, for example, borrowing or lending? I know those are also really popular right now and probably something people would be interested in. Is that something also built in?
Staking we'll bring it back. I think the initial thought was be best in class and then expand. And so for us, that's A for B, spot trading, portfolio management, position management, cross-chain smarter routing. That's step one. Step two is adding in derivatives. And then we'll probably bring back, you talk about staking and providing liquidity. I think we look on our back end, we have like 900,000 pools, whether they're staking or other types, that you can provide direct access. And part of what we're trying to figure out is how do you make that an actually palatable experience? Because that's just too many. And how do you want to make sure that it's, if someone's going in and providing liquidity, that they're not going to be at risk of getting rugged in some way, shape, or form. And so some of that is building out the security tooling on our side to make sure that we're monitoring for our customers. And if there's anything that looks like anything particularly problematic, we're helping withdraw funds instantly and protect them there. But to your question, great questions. There's a lot to add, and we have a pretty robust roadmap for the next, I'd say, 12 months, if not more. We actually built out to 2030, but that's a whole maybe too long.
Everybody loves roadmaps in this space.
Everyone loves roadmaps.
The longer, the better.
Yes. But we kind of view those as stacking on, and we really are guided by kind of customer demand. That's at all level. It's all about user feedback. And since day one, it's been spot, derivatives, then a pretty big gap, and then kind of staking or options. And that's kind of how we think about things. The borrow lend component, we very much care about. That's coming with our margin financing, but we wanted to make sure that when we do have margin financing, it's across your entire portfolio. It's not just the limited assets you might see on Compound or Aave or things like that.
What's the latest in customer demand? Is anyone asking for like things in particular, like they want to see futures trading, or they want to see, this tool be added? Like, is there like a general consensus or focus on what people are looking forward to having? Or
great question. We have a whole bunch of folks on the institutional side who want a much more robust API because we have very low latency offering there. That's just kind of along the way. The biggest one has been for multi-venue perps. So to have a single place where you don't have to move funds between Hyperliquid and Binance and OKX and Bybit, and we just are routing, getting you the best price on both sides, managing your positions there, not managing for you, but kind of helping you manage them in a simpler way. That's been the number one demand. Because I think there's a lot of folks right now who, you're stuck. Like you see a better price by a material amount on OKX versus Bybit, but you have to close your position and then transfer funds. And that means by the time you've done that, it's over. And you have all this exposure to Bybit and OKX at the time, which is a bit scary. And so there's been a lot of amount of, hey, can you be the people we're facing? Can you be the folks who give us that routing to get that best price with the deeper liquidity across, think of those venues I mentioned, plus a lot of market makers are now offering direct perps or CFDs. And so building that in, so you're going to get to skip the exchange and get back what you would have had to pay in fees to that exchange.
Who are these institutional clients kind of look like? Are these like banks? Are these investment firms? Are these hedge funds?
Good question. When we think of institutional, and again, Terrace is built for like the most advanced trader, and then you can kind of work backwards. It's crypto native hedge funds, non-quantitative, quantitative, over-the-counter OTC desks within the space who are focused on long tail assets, finding ways to, I would say arbitrage their customers, but make money on the deals they're doing. That's the kind of core of our institutional side. There's obviously like a few random, there's some family offices and there's some VCs who, when a token becomes liquid, they want an efficient way that's got, built-in MEV protection, then TWAPs and security. And so they can go dump, not that they're dumping, but they can go, release those tokens. But mostly on the institutional side, it's going to be hedge funds and OTC desks.
Do you have a process for token screening? Like if there's a new, L2 project that comes out on Ethereum and they got a token that's really popular, what's your process for that? Getting them on Terrace, making them tradable?
We very much try and embody like the DeFi ethos, which means it's open access. So you list, if as soon as a pool exists that has some amount of money in it, you're on Terrace. That being said, we don't give you what we would call like a verified stamp until we've actually done some work, confirmed it's real. That's mainly about security, right? If you actually just went up and looked at how many tokens claim their USDC or USDT, it gets pretty ugly pretty quickly. So there's kind of immediately anyone can trade. If you're looking at the same speeds as like a banana or anything like that, then it's okay. Is it now verified? Which is you get your little check mark, you get your, this is what it is. You get some insights into like what the token is, what it's based off of. That's the kind of the process. Of course, you can get delisted, but that's a whole separate issue. But we kind of big believers in things should be available immediately. And that's one of the reasons why at some point we like to think that DeFi should have a material advantage versus centralized exchanges, which have these kind of more material listing processes, which they mainly use, frankly, to earn, let's call it listing fees from the various projects.
Do you guys have any partners or collaborators that you're working with to further expand out what you want to do with Terrace, or customer bases you want to, reach into? Who are you working with?
Trading side, like we're particularly focused right now on on-chain natives, folks who are sophisticated, spend a good amount of time there. A lot of those folks are in trading groups or alpha groups or just messaging with friends. There's a social component of crypto trading, which I think is really interesting. And I like that you brought up like how do you capture that? Which I don't think, like I really did think the troll box back in the day was pretty good at it. I'm not sure much has caught since. We're focused on those groups and making sure they have the best experience. Like our entire approach is, frankly, the customer's almost always right. And the only way to get better is to give it to people, have them use it, tell us how we can make it better, solve their pain points and their problems. That's how we got where we are today. That's how we'll get to the next stage. And so, we're working with a number of these trading groups, whatever you want, syndicates, I don't know what you want to call them, getting their feedback, making it better. On the development side, look like we're working with all the chains that we support, with venues as we come sees fit. We're working on partnerships going forward. I think we have a whole line of, we want to be a place that you earn additional, that you should be trading memes. Like I just think it's an important part of the social part of crypto. And so we have a number of partnerships lined up with some of those meme tokens and our projects, whatever you want to call them, coming out over the next kind of couple of months. The goal is at least one a week, with some kind of incentive to earn more of that by using Terrace. And then look, we're always exploring adding new chains, adding new venues on the decentralized side. The centralized side, I'll be honest, is pretty much straightforward. We know who the biggest venues are, markets in the world, and you need to list those. And they don't really, probably going to charge you more than they're going to,
Right.
help you out there. So it's really focused on like finding projects that are out there that we think are high quality, that are meeting customer pain points, that maybe could use more distribution or ease. For chains, that means making it easier to get there, to manage your portfolio, to not have to worry about things like gas. For dexes or anything in the kind of exchange world, that's, what are they providing that's differentiated? So like I'll give a shout out one. There's the first kind of on-chain dark pool was just launched last week by Renegade, or I think it's called Renegade Finance. It's the midpoint price for Binance on all the pools that Binance supports, but it's a fully dark pool, so your trades are hidden. That is a value additive service. Like that doesn't exist in crypto today. You're getting quality on-chain pricing, off-chain pricing on-chain. So you have the security of the settlement there, and it's a dark pool, so you don't have to worry about front run. It's like early days, over the next kind of month or two, like we'll add Renegade in, but we're always looking for projects like that are, moving the space forward, right? As much as I love any clone of UniV3, like it's a clone of UniV3.
So here's the big question. When will Terrace be live?
So there is a working version. We have a whole bunch of folks on it. We believe in a kind of a fairly extended beta. As I mentioned before, the call, like it's invite only right now. Happy to send some if folks are looking from listeners to the pod or whatever. Happy to provide an invite code. We can talk about that after. General availability, down the line. It's a little bit about how do we think the actual platform is performing, are we meeting customer needs, and scaling the platform. I think one of the things which I'm pretty concerned about as a founder and CEO is, making sure that everyone always has a good experience. And
Hmm.
the an incredible thing about crypto is because of things like points programs, which we are going to launch, and you can basically scale. Platforms can go really, really quickly. And I don't want a repeat of what we've seen at places, back in the day, like Friend Tech, where, hey, it works, and then they hit whatever 10,000 people, and suddenly it's broken for some period of time. And so part of this for us is keeping it invite only to make sure it's quality folks. There's no sibling, there's no kind of problematic activity, and that the platform can continue to scale. And that might mean expanding, more servers, who knows where, to just make sure it's a good experience. So it is available.
Hmm.
It is invite only. If you'd like it, send us a message on Twitter, find us on Telegram, and I'll of course give you a couple invite codes. Can let folks play around.
What does your extended roadmap kind of look like going through the rest of 2024 and 2025? Things that you really want to implement that you're excited about?
We're launching, it's DeFi only. It's DeFi Spot. Quickly followed, probably October-ish, centralized Spot, which will be a combination of centralized exchanges, market makers, OTC desks. I'm pretty excited to launch our API that we think will, or at least our API that is available to high frequency trading firms, mainly because I want to see how many trades they do. Following that, full perps CFDs on chain and off chain in early 2025, and then true portfolio financing or margin financing, where you can cross margin your entire portfolio across wallets, etc. That's, I think, what I'm probably most excited about in early 2025. Down the line, we are working on its early days on clearing all of Terrace's trades through it on chain, which is, I think, kind of like the original promise of BNB or BSC. And so we're working through logistics of how can we do that? How can we make sure that everything exists on chain? So that's probably like the longer term where we see coming. Obviously after that, we've got all the liquidity stuff, we've got staking, we've got options and futures as there's demand. But the really big ones are EVM or DeFi Spot, DeFi plus CeFi Spot, DeFi plus CeFi Spot and perps, and then cross margining across the entire thing.
Awesome. Where can people go to learn more? And then if they want to get an invite so that they can get in, what should they do? What's that process?
You can check out our website, terrace.fi or terrace.fi. You can also find us on Twitter, terrace.fi or at terrace_fi. Send us a message, or you can find me, Jesse Beller _ on Twitter. Send me a message. Happy to get you involved, add you to our burgeoning early access group. But just give us a look. We're publishing stuff consistently. We have our docs out there. We want to build the best platform that's out there. People deserve a great experience.
Awesome, man. Jesse, thank you for taking the time to come on today. Really do appreciate it. And I think you got something really cool here with Terra. So, very excited to check it out myself personally, and to, share this with a lot of other people. So keep it up, man.
Thanks so much for having me, and have a wonderful rest of your day.